Texture is one of the 7 elements of art that we have been exploring, and it refers to the way an object feels to the touch or looks like it may feel if it were touched. And in our artworks in this unit, we have really been talking about how to create an illusion of texture. In my last video, we created scratch-off paper using oil pastels, where we scratched the black layer on top and revealed the colors underneath. And today we're going to do the same thing, but doing it digitally. And the best part of this is you really do see your image reference. So you get a lot of support that way. So when you're choosing your subject for this one, you can increase your challenge by doing a portrait of somebody that you love, or maybe drawing your dog or your cat. Something that you may have been avoiding because it's a little bit difficult, but with this extra support, you're really going to be able to take it to the next level. For your scratch art project, I want you to choose a subject matter that has lots of texture, light, and shadows and clarity. So I'm going to ask you guys to look up some pictures of animals, insect, plants, or portraits that really work for our texture project. So this website, unsplash.com, allows photographers and artists to connect together. So each photograph has some credit towards the photographer who took it. So if you share your artwork on Instagram, always give credit to the artist that you worked with. So I want to search cardinals for my subject matter. I've always wanted to draw one, and I want to choose an image that is close up to the cardinal, where I see some of the texture of its feathers and maybe sitting on a branch as well. Oh, I love this one of him in his nest, but I don't see enough of the body, so I'm gonna keep scrolling until I find one. So you can see that all of these photographers are sharing their work in order to get some recognition, as well as inspire other artists. So I see these two. I've got a more horizontal and a vertical one, but I really like this one by Joshua Cotton. This is a perfect image. I could see all of the line work that I can use. I see it's very close up. It has some great lighting and also shadow. So I'm going to save this one. When you click to download, it will save right into your folder and also give you the website of the artist that provided this resource. If your image doesn't automatically show up in your album, take a look at it. You might have to hold down your image and click Add to Photos, and then it will be there in your photo album. So now we are going to go into Autodesk Sketchbook and set up our page. You are going to create a document that is 2550 by 3300, and if your image, so my image is a vertical image, so I want the height to be much larger. If your image is more of a horizontal image, then all you gotta do is do a little rotate here and it will switch the numbers for you and work through with a horizontal canvas. So now let's get into this program and setting up our canvas. The first part is making sure that we really work in these layers over here before we start our drawing. So let's get everything set up and then we can just start drawing. So I am going to first enter my image, which is my cardinal, and then you just want to place it however you want to do it. I want to make sure the top of his head doesn't get cut off and I have enough here to draw. Okay, so we're going to set up 2 different layers, one below and one above. So for right now, I can see that the cardinal's head is here. So think about an area that you want to focus the colors on. So I'm going to focus all of my colors coming from this point and moving outward. So that will create a gradation. This is what will be revealed underneath our black layer. So in this layer right here, I am going to enter a bunch of colors. So I am going to do a radial, which is right here, the 3rd gradation. And the radial comes from a center point and moves outward. So that's why I wanted to find that area where the head of the cardinal is as my center point. So think about your picture and where you want the center point, the colors to all radiate from. And then they move outward. Now each of these circles is a different color. And you can change the color by pressing on it. So I'm gonna stick with a red in the center, and then I'm gonna do some different variations of red. If I want to add a color to my radial gradation, I will just click another spot and I can go ahead and change and make another gradation. Let's say I want to get rid of a color. You just hold on to that button or that little dot and pull away. So add by pressing, get rid of by pulling away. But I'm just going to go through here and do a bunch of different red gradations. All right, so that is going to be my under layer. And now I'm going to create a top layer. So when I click this plus sign, I get this layer over here. I'm going to take that, drag it above my photo. And then in this layer, I'm going to do a fill as well, but instead of a gradation, I'm just going to click that solid fill. And this fill is going to be a black. So you can get that by dragging all the way down into the bottom of your color wheel there. And then just press it once. So now I've got a black layer on top, my image layer right here, and my reveal layer right at the bottom. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to do our drawing. Now in order, let's turn that off. Now in order to start our drawing, what we wanna do is bring this opacity down a little bit and turn my image back on so that I see a little bit of the bird. I'm gonna bring this opacity down a little bit more. So now I see the bird, but I also see some of the black. So if I zoom in here, this is where I'm gonna begin. I am going to use an eraser. I'm gonna make the size pretty small here. And I'm gonna make it the smallest it can so I can get more details. I'm gonna turn my predictive stroke on about a 3 or a 4 to let those lines be a little bit more controlled. And now I start to work within that textural mark making. So you can see that if predictive stroke is on, your lines might get a little bit too straight. So I'm going to bring this down to like a 3, so it's a little bit more of a, yeah, that shows more of a curve to the lines that I want. So the idea too, remember that if you take 3 fingers and you go to the left, you can undo as a little shortcut. And then to the right, it's a redo. So I'm going to clear that out. So let's talk about texture. Just like in practice, we don't want to create a bunch of hard outlines of our animal. Instead, we build it up by bringing this texture in. And it can have layers and layers. It can have overlaps. So I'm bringing in this bird's texture. I'm looking at the movement of the hair of this bird and starting to bring it out in my drawing. So just as a little preview, if I take my black layer and I bring it to 100%, all that's being revealed right now, if I turn this off, all that will be revealed is my gradation. Or if I turn it back on, you get like the colors of the image there as well, which could be a cool effect. So let's bring that back down, make sure I'm back on my black layer, and I'll go through. So the idea is in some places you might want to make this a more solid line. So it's really cool to see, oh, I made a mistake there. Another thing you can do, let's say you get a little bit too far and you like hate the way this is looking. Now you know that if you take your brush, let's just use a regular paintbrush, and I make sure that it is black, I can use my paintbrush, my opacity is down, so I'm gonna make sure that's all the way up. I can use my paintbrush to cover up something if I make too much of a mistake. I can just paint it black again. Go back to my eraser and try again. So the idea is not to go and just outline your work, okay? The idea is to instead build up the texture. So I'm going to show you the difference here. This is going to be a general outline, and then I'm going to show you what this feather looks like if I show its texture. You can see that your end result is going to be so much more interesting if your line work shows texture instead of just outlines. Remember, your drawing layer is where you erase and paint black if you need to start over again. You want your eraser to be at a low number. You keep your image on and your opacity down to be able to see through, and have fun with it.